my god, I can't even show you the whole thing. Hello Booksties, welcome to today's video. As you can see, I have a really big stack of books. Since we are now in August, I thought it would be a cool idea to give you guys some summary book recommendations for anyone who is still clinging on to the last remaining parts of summer. I'm not one of these people. I'm a full-time autumn winter girly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 books. There's a book for everyone in here. First things first, let me put the stack down. First up, we have Breathless. The main character just finished high school and is currently dealing with some difficult issues at home. So she and her mom decide to take some time away from it all, and they go on this remote vacation. During that vacation, the main girl starts working on a book that she has been writing for a while, and she kind of uses this time away to really get to know herself. She goes on a very deep and intense self-discovery journey, and along the way she also meets a potential love interest. The second book I'm going to recommend is Heartbones. The title is different here because this is the German copy, but this is by Colleen Hoover, and it follows a girl who comes from a troubled home as well. Her mom passes away, so she ends up moving into her dad's house over the summer before she goes off to college, and she's never lived with her dad before, so she has to learn how to manage this newfound relationship with him and his family. She also ends up with the boy next door. Moving on, these three are what I call a no-brainer kind of romance. They're not very deep, they're not very unforgettable, but they are fun when you're in the moment. Two of them are by the same author, Tessa Bailey. We have My Killer Vacation and It Happened One Summer. Now, something I gotta say about this author is that she tends to write insta love types of romances. So if that's not your thing, I would stay clear of these. But if you don't mind it, then definitely give them a try. My Killer Vacation has a little bit of a mystery in it. There's a lot of humor. It's not, like I said, it's not very deep. Nothing unforgettable, but it is fun while it lasts. It Happened One Summer follows this very entitled rich girl who, as a punishment by her stepdad, gets sent to this very small town in, I think, Maine. And she has to kind of learn how to depend on herself, and during that whole journey she meets one of the local fishermen. It's their romance. Here the main girl moves to this beachside town, and she is focusing on growing her business. That's where she meets the main guy, Cooper. He's like the town's grumpy bachelor. They strike up a friendship, which then obviously develops into something more, and he thinks she's a very entitled rich girl, so we have that dynamic going on. Again, nothing unforgettable, but it's fun and it's summery and it's beachy. Next up, I have two books by Emily Henry. She is the perfect author for a summer read. Her books tend to read more like fiction with a side of romance. So if you don't want to read something that is just heavy on the romance, then I would recommend you pick up one of her books. Happy Place personally felt more fiction and less romance. This group of friends gets together for one last time before they sell their summer house where they used to always vacation together growing up. The main two characters were actually engaged, and they broke off the engagement, but their friends don't know. So for this last summer hurrah, they have to pretend to still be together. Beach Read follows two rival authors. They end up living in neighboring houses over the summer while they're trying to write their new novels, and there's this constant rivalry between them. The main girl is also struggling with some family issues, some grief, so this one also has a little bit of depth to it. So if you enjoyed Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren, you haven't tried this one yet, Every Summer After, then I would suggest you give it a try because the stories are very, very similar. In fact, this is also a second chance romance. We get dual timelines, so we can see what happened in the past that brought us to the current situation. There's also a little bit of grief in there, and I feel like you really can't go wrong with this one. Now for the final romance book recommendation, if you are looking for something with a lot of emotional depth, something that will make you reach for the tissues, a story that you won't forget easily, then I would recommend you give Say You Swear a try. It also takes place in a vacation house where all these friends get together every summer, but now they're a little bit older, everybody's going off to college. I can't give too much away about this one just to avoid any spoilers, but the love between the main characters is one of the best heartfelt romances I've ever read. Highly, highly recommend. And if you find yourself in the mood for a thriller in the middle of summer and you're someone who only reads thrillers in autumn or winter, then I would suggest you try Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager because it takes place in a summer camp. In this one as well, we get a dual timeline, so you can see what happened in the past, which kind of leads us to the circumstances in the present moment. There was a disappearance back in the day, and now many years later, one of the girls who used to go to that camp became a teacher at the same camp. During her stay there, she starts putting some pieces together and picking up on some clues. And slowly but surely, she starts to figure out what happened to those disappeared girls all these years ago. I could not put this down. It is such a page turner. If you're in the mood for fantasy, but you don't want something that is too cozy, my first recommendation would be Fable. There are two main books in this series, Fable and Namesake. There is another book which is basically considered a prequel, but I would suggest you read it after reading the first two, just for context, and it's called Saint, and it follows the father of the main character in Fable. Fable follows a girl who is the daughter of a very famous and ruthless pirate. One day he decides to abandon her to fend for herself, and he just kind of drops her off on this island. Now, this is fantasy with a side of romance, and it's also YA, so keep that in mind. To Kill a Kingdom is a standalone. It follows the main character who is a siren, and she's been raised to lure in men and kill them to take their hearts. But one day she falls upon a prince, and for some reason she ends up not being able to kill him that easily, and it's their romance. This is also YA. There isn't any complicated world building or anything, so if that's your vibe, definitely keep that in mind. The final recommendation is Daughter of the Pirate King, and the second book, Daughter of the Siren Queen. As you can tell from the title, it follows the daughter of literally the Pirate King. He is also very ruthless, and the book starts out with him sending his daughter into the enemy's ship to spy on them and get some information, and then she ends up as a hostage. And even though this is YA, the banter and the romance was done so well in this duology. I loved it so much. There's no spice because obviously it's YA, but it was still very fun. There is also a little bit of action, especially in book number 2 and towards book number 1, and there are a little bit of plot twists. This was a very, very fun read, and it also takes place on the sea. All right, you guys, I hope you found some of these helpful. If you have read any of these books, let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!